American Sniper is a bad movie. If you saw it, you already know that. If you watched my review, you already know that, and you saved some money, so you're welcome for that. But just so we're clear, since we're about to discuss how the specter of ideology now hangs over this movie in a pop culture sense, American Sniper is a lousy film entirely outside of any ideological context. It's flatly directed and poorly paced. It has no coherent narrative through line, the beat-by-beat storytelling isn't compelling, and there's no attempt at subtext to give the surface-level emptiness any inner life. All but perhaps one of its vaunted war sequences lacks all sense of tension. Its main character is an empty vessel surrounded by a supporting cast who may as well be plastic dolls, and at least one who actually is a plastic doll. Seriously, look at this. Look at this stupid fake baby. Yeah, Bradley Cooper isn't supposed to be playing with a doll here. We're supposed to think that's his real kid. This is an actual meant to be taken seriously scene in a theatrically released movie nominated for Best Picture in 2015. But whatever. It's not really a big deal that American Sniper sucks. A lot of movies suck. It's also not a big deal that it's making money. Lots of movies that suck make money. Hell, it's not even that big a deal that it got nominated for Oscars. Lots of movies that suck get nominated for Oscars. To be honest, I think I speak for a lot of film critics when I say I'm mostly surprised we're talking about this movie at all. See, most of us saw American Sniper months ago when it was press screening back in December for its award season qualifying run. Mostly reacted somewhere between, well, that was alright, and that was a huge disappointment, and promptly forgot about the damn thing. And since the film tries and fails to be many things, but crowd pleaser certainly isn't one of them, it was largely assumed the film would come and go without much notice. But that's obviously not what happened. Instead, American Sniper is a massive blockbuster, looking like the biggest box office hit of director Clint Eastwood's storied career and well on its way to being the biggest domestic hit of 2014, which sort of unfair since about 90% of its money is being made in 2015, but them's the breaks, well ahead of even crowd-pleasing juggernauts like Mockingjay and Guardians of the Galaxy. And even that wouldn't be interesting in and of itself because critics and audiences disagreeing and/or bad movies becoming big hits is a common occurrence. For example, I can guarantee you 50 Shades of Grey is going to get terrible reviews but make a ton of money. Are we also going to spend months parsing out the cultural significance of that? We are? We are. Well, me. In any case, the reason American Sniper's box office haul is supposedly worth talking about is that various talking head media twits and lecture circuit bottom feeders
is breaking records all over this great nation. It's because America needs a hero again, and Chris Kyle has been that man, and screw the left in Hollywood who can't understand what it is that we see in someone like Chris Kyle and all of our vets.
Speaking of things I can't believe we're still treating as relevant, have decided to go and make the critic-audience divide over this damn movie into a political talking point, to fuel the ever-tiresome yet ever-useful culture war narrative, where an American Sniper is a totemic patriotic altarpiece for the real America under siege by some imaginary left-wing, pacifist, progressive cabal, and that supporting said altarpiece at the box office isn't just something every true acolyte of mom, baseball, and apple pie will enjoy, it's effectively their patriotic duty. Now, to be sure, some of this is also bound up in an attempt to either canonize or demonize the real-life Chris Kyle, owing to some profoundly uncomfortable statements and views expressed in his memoir and questions having been raised about the veracity of his more extreme war stories related therein, and during his stint as a self-promoting talk show fixture, and yes, the absolutely troubling fact that the film chooses to omit these details in favor of a more stark, simple man caught in the sweep of history view of the main character. That's an important discussion, but it's also a separate one. Whether Chris Kyle was the admirable, uncomplicated hero he's been posthumously cast as by some in the media, or perhaps more likely, a deeply flawed human being in the all-too-familiar situation of skills, actions, and views that may serve a vital purpose in a war zone being found incompatible with ordinary society is also, in my opinion at least, unseemly to turn into a platform for political point scoring, but it oughtn't be conflated with what, yes again, now appears to be a highly fictionalized cinematic version of his story. Generally speaking, you should be suspicious whenever someone suggests that you should affirm some fundamental aspect of your identity by handing money over to a corporation, just as it was really stupid and profoundly creepy for people to frame viewership of Mel Gibson's nigh-plotless gorefest The Passion of the Christ as some meaningful battlefield in the struggle between Christianity and whatever the hell those people thought they were fighting. It's stupid bordering on the offensive to suggest that forking over cash to watch a subpar Bradley Cooper vehicle is an act of radical patriotism. That being said, the asinine idea of American Sniper as a cause, rather than just a puzzling box office phenomenon, because again, it doesn't even work as an action movie, does beg the question, why is this so popular, really? Well, honestly, like I said, there's just no accounting for taste sometimes, but it's also possible that this movie is filling a need, however poorly. The fact is, the US has been at war or otherwise violently engaged in Iraq and Afghanistan for some time now, and even as we're supposed to be winding down, we're left with an inescapable sense that at least one war was to a large degree a needless, unnecessary mistake. Neither accomplished all that much, and both were far too costly in blood and treasure, and that's a horrible feeling for a nation to live with, particularly one where veneration of military service is so profound and widespread. The idea, not necessarily the fact, but the idea that soldiers might have lost life and limb along with the suffering of their families for nothing is almost too horrible to contemplate, and yet the constant presence of news and information in our lives makes that reality inescapable, preventing us from even constructing the comforting fantasies of martial righteousness that served us a balm in earlier times of uncertainty and insecurity about war. American Sniper is not Rambo. It's not trying to rewrite history or create a pro-war superhero. But because Clint Eastwood's famously lean, to-the-point style sands the darker edges off Chris Kyle and then refuses to take a definitive stand on the history and meaning of his existence and the wars he fought in, the resulting film is just empty and broad enough to invite an audience to project meaning onto it. And I think it's pretty clear that many audiences are filling up Clint Eastwood's thematically empty movie and Cooper's dramatically hollow characterization with the simple, unironic, reassuring good guys versus bad guys version of the so-called war on terror that both Hollywood and reality have largely refused to give them. And while I understand that premise, it also makes me a little sad. One of the myriad reasons I'm more than okay with modern American blockbuster cinema being so dominated by cartoon superheroes is that they allow us to have our broad mythic action parables without having to make action movie mincemeat out of real events or important pressing issues. There's no need to turn Chris Kyle into Captain America. That's what Captain America is for. And we definitely don't need to start boiling down the Iraq War to Bradley Cooper getting off a succession of difficult headshots. We all have different opinions on war, the military, patriotism, America, the current state of the Middle East. But American Sniper has nothing interesting to say about any of it. And it's okay to admit that. I'm Bob, and that's the big picture.